Hi everyone, welcome to the Jackal tutorial for the Big 20 race. Big 20 race is coming up September 5th, 2015 at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can watch that on twitch.tv/bestofness. If you want info on the race or other things that Best of Ness does, you can go to thebestofness.com and check out the website with all the info on that, how to sign up, how to help out, resources on the various games. All the tutorials that we've made on this channel and that people have made on other channels are all collected there on the resources page to help you learn the games for this race. Also the rules, the ROMs, everything you can want for this is there. So we've got two people helping us out today. We've got NMEtv here. Hi Enemy, how you doing?
Hey Fiesel, how you doing?
Really well, thanks.
Good.
And we've got InfiniteMystery here, also to help us out. How you doing, Infinite?
I'm doing okay, Fiesel. How you doing?
Excellent. And I'm Fiesel, your host. I'm organizing these, some of these tutorials. And I'm not a Jackal guy. I don't know how to play this game, but I'm about to learn. These two, though, are experts, and they're going to walk us through it. The goal for this race is only to beat 4 stages. You just have to beat stage 4, and that's it. So you don't have to do full game. But this is going to happen relatively late in the list. It is the 4th game to last, so you're probably going to be pretty tired out, pretty beat by the time you get to this game. So you really want to make sure you got this one on lockdown so you don't, get stuck here. Are there continues? How do the lives work? How do the continues work in this?
So the lives are pretty standard. You start with what? Actually, I don't even know how many lives you start with. I think I think you start
4 or
with
5 lives.
Yeah, anyway, yeah, that's right. You get infinite continues, so that's nice. Continue starts you at the beginning of the stage, and you shouldn't
Infinite
need continues.
No, I believe you only get about maybe.
Wait, it's not infinite?
It's not infinite continues.
Oh, okay.
They lied to me.
I believe you only receive about 3 continues before a full game over.
Okay, so you got
About
4
that.
lives times 3 continues.
Yeah, and you get
this.
You get extra lives. You first extra lives you get like 20,000 points. I think after that it's another 50,000 points for the next extra life. So you have some opportunities to get a little tooled up on the way.
Yeah.
But I don't foresee anyone running out of game overs. If you're in this sort of race, you're going to be competent enough to get through this, even if it takes you, say, a game over.
Right.
Okay. Well, why don't you tell us what the controls are in this?
Sure.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, but there's a couple of things to note. So you have 2 firing options, and let me just jump into save state here. So we have our normal pea shooter that always fires vertically. That always fires to the up position of the screen. So that's your B button. It's less used, but there's a couple of occasions where you want to use that rather than your main weapon, which is either a grenade or a missile. And the grenade, or really the missile, can create some slowdown, and we'll address that later. But A button is your grenade, and that will shoot the direction that your Jeep is facing. And you have 8 directionals that you can face. You have your diagonals and your cardinal directions. So you have to get a little used to the turning. It's not just, I'm going to press right now and immediately shoot right. No, you have to turn a little bit to get in the proper direction. But a little bit of getting used to, it'll be fine.
Oh, I see. I can't shoot while my tank is spinning. Okay.
Yes.
Gotta wait till it points where it needs to go next, and then I can shoot.
Yes, and
You only
as
have-
you...
Go
Oh,
on.
go ahead. I was
you
just
only
going to
have one
say...
grenade on the screen at once. Oh man, we're just right on top of each other.
Go ahead. I'm deferring to you, Fiesel.
All right. No. I noticed there's only one grenade on the screen at once, and you have unlimited of all your weapons, right?
You do have unlimited of all
Yes.
weapons. Like you said, only one special, such as it is, on screen at once. And you can upgrade that 3 times. So you ultimately get... So you start with the grenade. It just has a nice explosion. It's fine. Then you get a missile that shoots longer range and can cut through the little guys. But it's still pretty much the same explosion. And let me pick this item up here real quick. And then you'll see the double explosion, which will shoot out horizontally. And then the 3rd upgrade is a 4 corners, or not 4 corners, but a 4 directional, explosion, and that will allow you to shoot or explode vertically and horizontally, and it'll kill most things. It will not damage bosses, but it will kill pretty much anything else on the screen that's in the normal level.
Okay.
It's worth noting while you're using the Jeep, you'll notice that you're in this very large, massive area that even the screen can't handle. So you'll notice that I'm scrolling over to that if you scroll over to the left and right, the area is massive. So you'll find enemies coming from various points out of nowhere, and you'll be wondering, how did I get shot?
I see. There's off-screen enemies that are still part of the level.
Right.
There are.
And you'll notice that there's these small guys walking around with various weapons. You can run over them with your Jeep.
Yeah.
Very useful.
So good.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's very satisfying.
Yeah, very. If you do see the enemies flash, then that means they're about to fire a shot.
Usually, that's true. They can troll you a little bit and flash and not shoot, but it's good to just assume that they're going to shoot.
Yeah. And of course, if you take any hits, if you did have a power up or any passengers, if you have a power up, you'll lose that instantly. And if you had any hostages, say maybe you've rescued quite a number of them, only a very few of them will still be left.
Okay. Yeah, I think it always drops 2 soldiers that you can pick up after the fact, whether you're full up on soldiers or not. For the run, you will probably only be picking up the power-up soldiers, not the... Well, you should definitely not be picking up the other soldiers. Sorry guys, you're getting left behind, but you're wasting our time. There's a whole mechanic where you can pick up soldiers and drop them off 4 points at a helipad, but we're going to avoid that entirely in all 4 stages.
All right, yeah. So there's hostages that you rescue, and you take them to a helicopter pad, and then you just get points. That's the point of it.
Correct.
Just get
Yeah.
score.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, is there anything else that kind of like setup-wise for this game? Do you think? There's nothing else I can really think of off the top of my head.
Not at least not until we get to a specific area.
Right. Okay.
Because the basis of the games is very easy to pick up.
Yeah, I agree.
Complete movement, very, very great controls. And once you have your fully powered up missile, which I actually find the 4-shot useful than your normal grenade.
Mm-hmm.
Now see, unfortunately here I just got shot, so I lose access to my 4-shot. And even though I'm picking up some of the hostages just to drop off at the helipad, I won't have as many hostages as I normally would have picked up just because I got shot.
Okay.
Now it's also worth noting that, say for argument's sake, you actually did decide you wanted some more points, and you decided to be friendly enough to save some hostages. You arrive at these helipads to drop any that are still alive, and once you drop them off, the helipad goes away. You could just pretend that the hostages are thanking you. They're waving to you bye. But enemies will still attack you while you're dropping the hostages off. So that's one thing to be wary of. But as the enemy said, we won't bother with them.
Just the ones that give you sub-weapons.
Correct.
Weapon
And
upgrades.
those are always in a greenish or brownish shack.
A green roofed hut is always going to give you... Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, I just got one of the upgrades. Neat. Okay.
Yes. The the power-up soldiers huts change a little bit from level to level, but they're always different looking from the normal soldier huts, so it'll be pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty.
And just to be clear, you start with grenades as your A button weapon, then you go up to missiles, and then you go up to missiles with a horizontal explosion, and then you go up to missiles with the plus-shaped explosion.
That's correct.
And then that's it. That's all the upgrades you get?
Yes.
Okay. Do they carry over between levels?
They sure do.
Okay.
They carry over for as long as you do not die.
Alright. Well, I think I'm ready to tackle this level.
Alrighty. So this level is pretty great in that there's not a ton of slowdown. Levels 2 and 3 in particular get pretty slow, especially as you kill more stuff. But we're going to try to tackle some of that, give some strats for slowdown mitigation while keeping everyone alive, and it'll be good. This is a pretty basic game, like I am said, but there are some spots that can get a little bit tricky if you're unfamiliar with it. So right off the bat, we'll start the game, and we'll just hit from the start. You get deployed from this helicopter. You're going to hold up and right, and you're just going to go straight diagonally up to this hut and get your first power-up. That is the first step. So you get your missile, and then we can start going to work here.
Alright, gotta use grenades or whatever your A button weapon is to blow these huts up, right? You can't use your
Yes, that is a good point.
Right.
That's correct. Yeah. So we're going to go over here. We'll press A.
Right.
Get our first power up, and then now we start to deal with some slowdown mitigation. I don't know if we want to jump right into some of that or if we want to do the simplest path. Like I said, in this stage, slowdown's not a huge issue, but there is a little bit of time to be saved, so I'm open for whatever with regards to that.
Yeah, why don't you explain some of the slowdown?
Sure. So,
all right.
So like these big gun emplacements right here, these cause the most slowdown I find in this game. There's not a ton else going on in this screen right now, so fortunately we're not plagued with too much slowdown, but as you go on in the game, it is typically a good idea. Not always a good idea, but typically a good idea to blow up these guys if you can, and you want to try to do so just as they are coming on the screen. The more they are on the screen, and the more you have your large explosion from the four-way shot missiles on the screen, you create more slowdown, and it's bad news. So you see right here, we're gonna go up at the start of the game, just come up here, get our power up, and then I'm gonna come up to basically where the Jeep meets the top of this hut here. I'm gonna just go off to the diagonal, shoot that thing, and bail out before I get shot. And that's gonna say, if everything's in one fluid motion, it's gonna be a little quick time savings. It's almost imperceptible, but it helps. It adds up. It's a few frames here and there. So.
Where's the same thing with those next two turrets? Alright.
Yeah, you can... I tend to only kill the one on the right because it's a little easier. And since the slowdown is negligible at this point, I just kind of don't bother with the one on the left. Because we're already lined up to go through this gate, and we're fine at that point. So once we come up here, we're just going to cut up diagonally. You have to... Another point to note is that the geometry in this game is a little tricky sometimes. Just got to be aware that even though you're in this Jeep, it's hard to go over things, apparently. So you just want to make sure you don't cut your corners too tight in some cases. Otherwise, you get caught up on the little hut here or some edge of the screen and or edge of the
stick. It's one of those games where you stick into walls instead of slipping on them.
Yeah, so you can see some of that on display here. Let me try and go over this bridge. It looks like maybe you could go over that, but you have to cut it a little wider than you might think.
Okay.
So,
alright, we're on the bridge.
We're on the bridge. Yeah, I was messing around, so I got dead on the bridge, but that's okay. We'll get back there real quick. So we come up, back on the bridge, and we can go right over here. These guys don't shoot. And then we're just going to cut up diagonally again, up here on the left side of these trees, and then we're going to find our first tank. We're just going to shoot it right away with a missile. Very easy. If you don't dawdle at all, he will never shoot you.
Alright, just get that tank right above those two trees. Got it.
Yes.
As soon as he spawns on the screen.
Exactly. And then our next guy that's going to give us a power-up is going to be right in here. So now we have our bi-directional shooter, our horizontal shooter.
There we go. Yeah, the explosion makes some left and right fireballs when the explosion happens. Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth noting that any of the tanks on this, any tanks that you encounter during the game, you'll want to get rid of them as soon as possible since they have a nasty habit of following you.
They do, and the other fun part about the tanks is that as you shoot them, if you're really close to them, and which happens sometimes, they like to get rebuttals on your killing shot, and they can tend to fire right at the moment of death, and that kind of ruins your day sometimes. That'll get you. So you got to be a little bit cautious around tanks in particular. So we've got our upgraded missile, and I like to shoot through here, get the explosion to kill both of those guys, and then that sets me up to come up, shoot my missile, and explode on to the right and get that first emplacement. I don't worry about the second one. Again, the time savings or the time loss from lag is pretty minimal here. There's not a whole lot being created.
Oh, I see, and you don't even have to hit that gun turret. You can just blow up your missile right next to him, and your explosion takes him out.
Exactly, and that's the great benefit of the 2- and 4-way missile shots. And that's one of the things you're going to have to get used to is how far the missile shoots and how far the explosion travels. It's really difficult to articulate that. It's one of those things where it's going to become muscle memory as to when you need to shoot and just how the missile's going to operate. But then, this would come up here, shoot through the bunker. If you don't get the shot off, it's fine. It doesn't really save a lot of time. We're gonna come up diagonally, shoot that emplacement that I just shot, shoot this tank that's vertical, and then we're gonna come up and have this next emplacement. It's kind of tricky to stop and go through parts because everything starts shooting at you if you hesitate. But we'll do our best. So let me get back up to where I just was. Shoot that one. Shoot the tank that's come down here. Shoot that guy, and then we're gonna shoot up diagonally. Ideally, you shoot that guy and the little guard in front of the item soldier, and then you shoot the little hut as well in one shot. If not a big deal. And then as soon as we shoot that, that's not a good save state. Okay, as soon as we shoot that up there. We're just going to circle back, shoot the gun that was right next to it, and then we're going to head over to the boss. The boss is pretty much right up the way from that point.
Just your bigger version of the tanks that you saw earlier.
Exactly. We're just going to kind of come up diagonally, shoot our missiles, kill those guys. Their shots really won't hit you, but we're going to... So what will happen is, there'll be a little chime, and we'll get 4 tanks that we have to kill. Each tank takes 2 shots with the missiles. Trying to
And you'll notice a color change once they take their first hit. They'll turn from
Right.
blue to green.
You can shoot them with the pea shooter too if you choose to. It can save a little time if you shoot both in concert, but it's not a great strategy for this boss because 2 missiles on each and you're good to go. So load this back up.
And on the grenades if you just happen to.
Right, yeah, and any of your A weapon is fine. So
Wait, so it only takes 1 shot from your... Well, how many shots does it take from your pea shooter if you use that?
it seemed like it took about 4.
Okay.
Let's see.
It's more than 4. It's 4 to turn in one color. It's probably like 6 or 8. It's 8.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Like I guess I said earlier, your explosions will not damage these bosses. So you have to actually hit them with the missile itself. Which you wouldn't think would be tricky, but these tanks can be a little bit of a pain at first. They always shoot directly in front of them. So as long as you're a little bit off their side, a diagonal behind them, you're good to go. You don't want to engage them head on.
Okay. Yeah, it seems also a little hard with your missiles exploding to see where the tank's bullets are, just because there's so much on the screen and the sprite flicker.
Yeah, and the color's the same, and yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, so be wary of boss bullets that are blending in with the other stuff that's going on.
Now, the spawn points for these tanks can be varied depending on where you're located. So when I start the boss room here, such as it is, I like to come up and get down between these palm trees, these palm trees, and that tends to spawn this tank kind of right underneath me here, so I can kill him a little quicker. Now the spawn timer for these tanks is set, I think, so you're not really saving a lot of time, but it's otherwise he tends to spawn over to the left. Well, I may have screwed it up based on how I set the save state up.
Yeah, I get the same positions on my for my truck, depending on where I see it.
Right. So he can spawn. Let me just show you where he can spawn over here. So if you're set up on the right, you can actually be in a circumstance where you shoot your missile and it won't reach him, and that's bad. So if you can get him to spawn here in the middle, you have a nice open area where when he turns, the trees aren't blocking you. That's the other part of this. You can't shoot through the trees. You would think that your missile from your Jeep would perhaps shoot through some palm trees, but they don't. So we have to deal with that.
Nice indestructible foliage.
That's right, you know. A core concept in any good video game, I find. So, yeah, it's just about staying to not the front of the tanks, shooting them twice, watching out for these trees, and it's a pretty easy boss fight. And as you get better with it, you can kind of feel more comfortable with getting right up on them and knowing what their shot timing is.
Since stage 1 is a nice learning stage for getting used to the controls, getting used to the movement. Generally, you shouldn't have too much trouble with the boss. Just always constantly move. Never stand still.
All right. Stage 2.
Stage 2. Let's see. Alright, so, right off the bat, we're going to shoot this tank. This is what I am said. You see a tank, you want to shoot it. That's pretty much always true. Okay. We don't need to get this power-up. This is the power-up shed in level 2, so if you ran out of, or you got hit, you're out of power-ups, you can get a missile upgrade right off the bat.
Alright,
but if you have your missiles, you can... Shed. Yes, that's your level 2. So we want to shoot him as he's coming down because our explosion is going to blow up that one emplacement, and then we can shoot the other one. That's going to save quite a bit of slowdown. This is the stage where slowdown really rears its ugly head. So we're going to do a lot of slowdown mitigation with where and when we shoot things. So you can see right off the bat, we're shooting that one, turn to the right, shoot that. Then the next thing coming up, we're going to kind of shoot off screen knowing that we're going to hit 2 things. And the things we're going to hit, on the left side, we're going to hit a tank. On the right, we're going to hit a plane. Getting rid of those, kind of right as they spawn on the screen, is going to save us some slowdown. So. And your visual cue here is kind of the top of this column. Like when you see the top of the column kind of cresting up at the top of your screen there, that's about when you want to go ahead and fire your missile.
And you just shoot straight up and you get them both.
Yes, because of your... And that's if you have the 4-way shot, of course. If you have the 2-way, it should work too, because you're not shooting anything vertically. But if you have grenade or the single-shot missile, you're going to have to do some alternates. And if you don't kill anything... I was just going to say, if you miss something, it's not the end of the world. You're going to deal with a little slowdown, but that's fine. So there's no reason to worry about if you miss a shot and then the plane gets by. It's fine. Just don't get hit by it, which you probably won't anyway.
You would think with these bomber planes that are in the air that you can't actually get rid of them, but surprise, surprise, you can hit them from the ground.
That's right.
Okay. And if the visual cue doesn't work for, like, if the top of your screen is, your TV cuts things off a little differently, check out where my tank is right now. If you just go past these 2 turrets right here, and you go one car length past the turrets, this is the spot that I can shoot at to get them.
Yeah, that's a good cue.
Oops, well, I was talking. Yeah, that's the way.
Yeah, it's really hard to stop and talk about this game and still be set up for your proper positioning and timing.
Yeah.
but we're doing okay.
You just go one tank length past those two platforms and then shoot, and you should get it.
Alright, so after we have gotten rid of tank and everything, we're going to come up, cut to the right, and we're going to shoot this Jeep. Then we're going to shoot a missile to the left and get rid of those two emplacements.
Now, the Jeep movement, unlike the tanks that you dealt with in the first stage, are much faster and much more annoying, as they're basically a copy of you, and they're trying to throw, and they're throwing grenades or bombs at you.
Mm-hmm.
And their movement is much faster. So those you instantly want to get rid of. Period.
Okay.
The tanks were bad enough to live with as before, but these Jeeps are at least 10 times more annoying because of their faster movement spawns.
So
I'm already lost.
Oh yeah, do you have a quirk about this stage? This stage, seeing that the stage is so large, it may look like you have multiple paths you can take.
All right. Are there?
No.
Okay.
No. Well, there's two that just basically will intersect into one.
I see. So you can go left or right here once you get to the staircases.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh, there's another gray roof cut just in case before you get
exactly. Yeah.
All right.
So a player can actually have a choice which way they want to go. But fortunately, if you actually did happen to run into a dead end, the game isn't too punishing to the point where you just can't go back. At least not only, but so far anyway.
Yeah, you spawn when you die. You spawn right where you died, unless you game over and then you start the beginning of the stage. So be mindful of that. But you know, we're just coming through this. There's not a whole lot to explain to this. You're basically anything that's gray is getting shot. That's the general rule. Gray or red, make it dead. There you go.
Okay.
It's a little rhyme for you.
Yeah, good way to remember it. So you're gonna take the right stairs. Okay.
I take the right stairs. I don't know that. Every video I've seen takes the right stairs. I don't know if there's possibly an advantage going left. But the right one is a pretty easy.
Left out of habit.
Of course you do. No, well, tell us about that, I am, because I don't go left. I don't know what is over there, to be honest with you.
The only thing left are 3 soldiers and like a small tank that's not a Jeep.
It's long though. That's the long way around.
I see. Okay.
You gotta
So when you go to the
right anyway.
Right, and when you go to the right, after we get up here for a second, so this is another one where we're going to want to shoot. We're going to want to shoot stuff as it's coming onto the screen. So that's a matter of knowing what your timing is for shooting these missiles. So basically, as soon as I start going past.
Oh yeah, and there's a bomber to the left too.
There's a bomber to the left. Once I start going up to these columns, in this right path, that's when I'm going to start firing missiles. And I'm going to fire 2 missiles in pretty short succession. And I'm going to try to kill all 3 of these things. There are 2 planes that come after us and 1 tank. So if we can get all 3, that's going to reduce some lag, and that's ideal. Not quite getting that first plane right now, but that's okay.
Well, if you miss something, the worst that's going to happen is you have a little bit of lag, which is
exactly, yeah.
The race.
That's so yeah, we just shoot the things that are in there. Just that one where we're gonna fire 2 missiles in pretty short succession. That's gonna save a bit, but otherwise, you can kind of avoid them as well. If you're so inclined, you can just drive on through. No big deal. Then we're just going to come out to the left here.
If a person did decide they wanted to take the left path, the bomber appears on the right side, so you don't actually have to worry about getting rid of it. As I'm just hug the left wall, and the only real threat here is the tank that might appear in front of you as you scroll to the right.
Oh, okay.
So when you come out of this path, you're going to come out on this side anyway. Whether you go left or right, this is your exit. And there's this nice path down here that wants you to go through. We don't want to take that. That takes too long. You start to get this situation where these columns will crumble, and we're going to help this one crumble and go through it. What's this save there? Perfect. Okay. You can actually go through it while the broken part is spawning. It's a little dangerous. Don't do that.
I didn't know about that myself.
You can just go right through that little gap. Neat.
Yeah, there are kind of a lot of places like that throughout this game. Some of them we don't use, some of them, like that one, we do. So it's a little bit of a savings right there, just for navigational purposes. Then we're going to come up here past the heliport, shoot some of these gray guys. And there's going to be some fast-moving jeeps. These you have to be careful about. We have 1, 2, 3 in-placement guns, a big gray tank, and then a gray jeep. And then we're going to go off to the left a little bit here. This is going to set us up for a neat little shot that we're going to pull off as we approach the boss.
Okay.
So, 1 shot, 2 shots, 3 shots, everything's good. That saves a lot of slowdown. That's a very heavy slowdown area if you don't shoot those things. So you do definitely want to try to shoot those things if you can. But then we're going to come up to this bridge. And that we have some statues here. They will shoot at us. We're going to mostly avoid them. And we're going to cross the bridge. We're going to come to these first 2 emplacements. We're going to blow both of them up. You can actually, if you time it properly, go through them without them shooting you. It's a little bit risky. So just, you can just shoot a missile off. Or if, you don't have missiles, you can still shoot a grenade at one of them, go through the one that you blow up, and be pretty safe with that. So come across this bridge. As you approach these middle statues... Oh, I guess there's only 4 statues. As you approach the top statues on the bridge, you want to shoot a shot because a jeep is going to come down and run right at you. So you can hit that as it's coming. But then as you exit the bridge, you're going to have those emplacements, and we can just shoot them, and that's going to make our lives easier. The reason we went the route we went to go across the bridge, going to the left through the column area, is that now the screen is situated such that we can see the left side and right side in pretty equal measure. If we went around to the right, then we'd be skewed to the right. And if we went further to the left, we'd be skewed too far left. And the reason we don't want to do that is because right up here, we're going to fire a missile and shoot both of these guns with 1 shot as the boss section is loading. And that's it's going to free up to have a little bit of an easier go with the boss. Because that way you don't have to worry about shooting the things or dodging their bullets. Just shoot it right as you see this little sprig of, or this little patch of grass. That's when you want to go ahead and fire your missile. And if you have your 4 corners or your 4-way, that's it's gonna get that. If not, you have to use grenade strats. Just get up there pretty quickly on and get rid of them. There we go. So then we have 4 statues again. Pretty easy fight, but they can shoot missiles sometimes that will come out and get you. You might have to just slide to the right a little bit. Otherwise, you're just gonna mash A and B the whole time. Face them, mash A and B. And it's a pretty easy fight.
But also to note, during the fight, you will see tanks coming after you.
Yes. Yeah, if you go quickly, the tank probably won't factor in. The tank can sometimes spawn on the left or the right. Well, those are the 2 options. But it can sometimes spawn on the side you're on, and then you may have to move away from it a little bit. But it's pretty negligible time loss. Now, the explosions, again, won't damage the statues, but what they will damage are the missiles that the statues shoot out of their mouth. So if you can time that properly, when you're shooting one, it will blow up the missile that the other one next to it is shooting, and you won't have to worry about dodging any of those at all.
Okay, makes sense. I've got him dead.
So if you don't die in a stage, you will get a different cutscene than if you do die. If you die at any point during the level, you'll just be all the guys looking around at a map. And they'll say, here? Question mark? Otherwise, if you do it the right way, if you don't die, you're going over a dune and they're shooting their gun and say, yeah! It's really cool. So, I always liked that as a kid. I still like it now. That's important speed strats, though. So, apparently, I have another ROM here for more save states. I'll open up here. So, we'll do level 3. I am anything else on level 2?
No. I think everything's been covered.
Alrighty. So, in level 3. First thing we want to do in level 3, immediately, we're going to cut up to the right, sort of like the start of the game, where we just go up and right, diagonally, and we're going to shoot. If you have a four-way shot or a two-way shot, just go ahead and shoot directly at the gray wall, because it's going to extend over and open this gate up for us. That's just going to save a little bit of time. And this stage, above, maybe even stage 2, probably above even stage 2, is all about lag reduction. There are a ton of enemies, and you need to know which ones you want to deal with and which ones you don't want to deal with. Because there are some that you actually create more lag by shooting them than if you just left them alone. So we'll go through and we'll show you which ones you want to kill and which ones you want to leave alone. So, open up the wall. I'm just going to try to narrate this as I do it. Shoot. We actually want to shoot straight up because that's going to cover the tank. It's going to cover these jeeps on screen. Get rid of a lot of stuff all in one fell swoop. Going to shoot this other tank that's above the soldiers that were hanging around, and then we have our emplacement gun here. We're going to shoot both of these, and that's going to help us out a lot lag-wise. Those, it seems to me, I don't know for sure, but it seems to me that those emplacement guns are, excuse me. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold. It seems to me that those gray big guns are the ones that create the most lag of any single enemy. So for the most part, you want to get rid of them. But in some cases, they're out of the way, or or there's enough going on the screen that you can kill a group of other enemies and not worry about that one particular gun. Just come up here. Shoot the jeeps. That's going to blow up the tank. Shoot this group of guys. It's going to blow them up. Shoot this emplacement, and then shoot the emplacement to the right. And that's the first little volley here. Then we come up this path. And you want to be careful for the little on-foot soldiers, because every once in a while they'll shoot at you and you may not be expecting it, and they'll ruin your day. We have the next big gray gun here. We're going to leave the one to the right to do its thing. It's not hurting us too much, but this one right in our way, we're going to get. That tank is normally out of the way if we're not dawdling, so we don't worry about it. And then we come up here, make sure that guy doesn't shoot us, and we have a sub. And blow up the sub, blow up this tank, and then we're going to have 2 boats over here. And it's going to blow up the boat, save a little bit of time, and also hopefully blow up all 4 of those tanks. Sometimes you get all 4 of them, sometimes you don't. Then there's this gun. We avoid this gun. It actually slows you down to go get that gun. And we'll wait to go over the laser section, because that's a whole other fun part of this game.
Fun indeed.
It's a save state. Nope. There we go. All right.
Okay,
Yeah, you let me know.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, let me know when you're good. I am.
I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, no. So, we have this laser section. First thing, we're gonna shoot that tank and hopefully get that guy too. But just want to get the tank for the slowdown. Pretty much everything at this point is for slowdown. Then we have this fun laser section. Important thing to note is that your hitbox is perhaps a little bit larger than you might think it is. So you might think you have the timing down great, and you just skated in past the laser, but it clips just the last pixel of your bumper, and that's bad news for you. It's an insta-death. Well, shoot, everything in this game is insta-death, but this is especially instant because it's a laser. So we're just gonna wait, pretty much wait for the first two to be safe. But once you wait for the first two, you can pretty much always go through that third one without too much of an issue. And then, this next laser section is a lot of fun because they throw a lot of on-foot guys and tanks at you. The spawn rate is a little bit varied. I've seen as many as 5 tanks through here. So you just have to be aware that you're going to have to do some shooting as you navigate through these lasers. But the important thing is to not rush through the lasers. You're gonna slow down a little bit through this section, but it's a lot better than dying and losing your sub-weapon, or worse yet, game over if you're already down a few lives. So they blink.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say they blink when they're indicating that they're gonna fire, and they make a nice sound. So that's it. Go ahead, Ian.
The worst, I would say, honestly, the worst thing about the laser section is because you really can't see anything that's in front of you. So the element of surprise is definitely on the enemy side.
Right. Which is why, as we go through these lasers, we're just going to fire our sub-weapon and hope for the best. So I'd cleared out most of that stuff on my screen as we were chatting. But then as you get to the end of the laser section, there's going to be a group of 3 guys. I already killed one of them, but they are pretty aggressive. So you want to be careful of that. Of all of the on-foot soldiers, these are probably the most reliably aggressive in the game, or at least in this category. And once we get through there, we're on mostly the home stretch of this level. And we get to do some fun explosion stuff, assuming we have the 4-way shot. Which we do for this tutorial, so we're going to put it to use. Okay. Pop open this save here real quick. Oh, that's one too late. Okay. Just past the lasers. Coming up diagonally. Shooting, that's going to blow open the door. And then we have a tank to deal with. You can fire off a shot to that. Then this is probably my favorite room in the game because you have this nice pickup that just kills everything. And that drops all of the lag on the entire screen. It's lovely.
Alright, so there's this hidden thing. You have to shoot that spot slightly to the right, and then
That's right.
touch it.
Yes.
There he dies.
So yeah, you just kind of tend over to the right a little bit of these things. Figures I would have an issue finding it. There it is. Yeah. And that'll get rid of everything on screen. And then come through this gate, and then we're on the final approach to the boss, where we have some guns popping up out of the ground and some tanks, and then we get to go fight a battleship. So come up here, you can shoot the gun to the left, and then sometimes there are 2 tank spawns, sometimes there's only 1. In this case, there's only 1. Oh no, there was a second. It was just off screen. We just use our explosions to get some of those guys. Get the power up. Come back through here. Blow up the Jeep. Blow up that if we can. Fire a rocket as we approach. It's basically the same principle as the Stage 2, firing those emplacement guns. So, for the boss. Boss is a pretty easy thing, but it shoots a lot of bullets, so you have to just be aware that what ground the bullets are going to cover. You will have tanks that spawn that you have to deal with, same as in level 2, but a little bit tighter area to work with, so they may play more of a factor. But this boss is quite easy. There are a couple of ways to approach it. The easiest way is to just go up to each individual gun, and again, just mash A and B. They'll go down very quickly.
And once again, the game likes to have fun with you while you're battling these 4 tanks at you.
Huh. Yeah, I'm actually not even seeing tanks spawn. I had 1 or 2 spawn, and then now there's no more. There's no tanks.
Good. Lucky for you.
Alright, so for this, you just want to mash A and B, get underneath each thing and mash A plus B.
That is the easiest way to do it. A slightly more advanced way is you have these 2 on either end of the boat. I'm sorry, the ship. And you have these 2 columns of guns in the middle here. So you can line up in front of them. It's a little bit risky because of the way that the guns shoot, but you can line up at a diagonal, and you can cover 3 guns in 1 shot. So you with your B shot, it's going to shoot vertically. Your missile, it's going to shoot diagonally, and you can kind of clear out everything all in 1 fell swoop.
Fortunately, it's a very weak battleship in terms of taking hits.
Yeah, they didn't think it through entirely when they built this one, but that's to our benefit. Now, I don't know if you use the death abuse strats for this category, but I found that they are pretty wonderful for the next stage. So I am going to show that off if I can. What we want to do, kill all of the guns except for this last one. And hopefully we will kill the last gun, or we'll destroy the last gun, and we will die from the shot that it fires as we're killing it. Which we did. That's perfect. So, I lose all my missile upgrades. But what that's going to do is that's going to spawn a few less enemies at the start of level 4 here. So that we're going to save some time on slowdown, and also we're going to save some little bit of headache in some cases.
Interesting.
But we're also going to set up for a quick kill at the end with a death abuse, but we'll get there in due course. Yeah, if we just die at the end of this boss, and if you die during the boss fight too, that's kind of a nice consolation prize, really. It's going to cost you like 2 seconds to do that, but what's 2 seconds in the grand scheme of this race?
Yeah.
So I died. I saw my here. You see here, that means you died, and it's good in this case. And so we start stage 4, and we're just gonna get to the shadow part of the mountain. You don't want to get too close to the mountain because, again, you have issues with the geometry of the level. But just kind of go over the shadow part. And then you're gonna start seeing these homing missiles. We should only see 1 if we've done this right, and it's very easy to kill. Just as it approaches you, you just turn around real quickly and shoot it. We're gonna have 1 tank. Shoot the tank. Oh, there's a second tank. How odd. Okay.
For this portion of the stage, you'll want to stick with the less swampy areas, as your movement would be very slow.
That is a great point. Which is partially why you run against the shadow of the mountain here. Goodness gracious, easy for me to say. This way, you just avoid the swamp water entirely, and you have no problem. So this save state that I have actually has some additional spawns because I still have the 4-way rocket. So I'm gonna have to finagle this a little bit. We'll go ahead and get shot here just for the right off the bat. I'll just get this tank to kill me. Why not? Because it'll set us up properly. So now we have our grenade, which is what I like to come into the level with. There are good missile strats too, but I find that it makes the boss a little bit trickier rather than death abusing. But, you know, again, we're just going to see red and gray stuff, and we're going to shoot it as it's on our way. This gun right here, as we approach this base, we can ignore it. Level 4 is pretty nice in that there's much less slowdown than in levels 2 and 3. So we don't have to go out of our way to shoot as much, which makes the grenade strats a lot easier to tolerate. But it's a pretty simple stage. You just navigate up. You have to be a little bit aware of
The terrain.
I should have. Yeah, the terrain, because these right here, these rocks will fall from the mountains and they'll get you. And also, you have these landmines that'll get you too. But it's a simple matter of remembering the pathing. you can either go through the hole in the landmines, or you can go on the train tracks. You have to be aware of the train. The train's already gone for me, but it'll run you over. It'll get you. Take a death here real quick so I can get back to grenade as we approach the boss. This is a pretty short stage. Come up here past the heliport. Have another gun. We're just going to avoid the tank. We're just going to shoot stuff that's kind of directly in our way, and get up to the boss room, where there will be 2 tanks. And we're going to use these tanks to our advantage by getting shot. Ah, I didn't time it right. Okay, so there's an audio cue for this. So let's discuss this audio cue, because it's always the most fun to explain in any tutorial, is what an audio cue is that you should be looking for, or listening to. But as the boss music starts, let's see. It's like dun 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 dun, and after that first little measure, dun 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 dun, that's where you want to get blown up. That's going to set your timing up so that you overlap your sprite with the helicopter, and as long as the tanks don't come after you and troll you, you can just mash A, and you should be able to take out the helicopter in one fell swoop. So
that always gives me trouble.
it's
at least in a good one loop.
Yeah, it's not like the easiest timing in the world. And these tanks control you by oh good. Well, oh boy. There we go. There we go. So that's getting in one cycle. If it kills you, as long as you have lives, you're fine. It'll come back down. You'll get between 4 and 7 hits on it. Oh no, 4 and 6 hits. 7 hits kills it. So you're still in really good shape for when it comes back. It's just gonna delay you a couple seconds. But if you can, take a shot. So what I mean by these tanks trolling you. You're in iframes, you're sitting on top of this helicopter, everything's great. But sometimes these tanks come in and they kind of ruin your day, because they can damage you when the helicopter cannot. There we go. That's a nice one. So as you see the tanks coming towards you, it's maybe bad news for your nice speed strat. But you may also be able to kill them in the meantime. I think what's actually happening is you're wasting a shot on the tank instead of shooting the helicopter. That's delaying the finishing of the helicopter, and you die once you lose iframes. But it's a pretty easy thing to do. You just have to time your death properly so that you're not respawning too early, losing iframes too early, and then not having enough time to shoot the helicopter. But again, for the helicopter, you're just mashing A. That's it. And if you don't want to do that, the helicopter fight is actually a little tricky, which is why I death abuse.
And this is the end of the goal. So if you have any lives left over, you may as well use them because you're done.
Yeah, exactly. Although, and this has happened to me a couple of times, I will come in here with 2 lives left. I'll do my death abuse, so I have 1 life left. I'll die on the last hit of the helicopter, and then it will say game over, and it'll say continue or end. I don't think that counts. Even though you're double KOing, I don't think that.
Yeah, that probably.
We don't have the rule defined on the page yet, but I don't think that would count.
It probably wouldn't be worth the long run for anybody to try that. At least not on the 4th stage.
Okay.
Oh no, I don't think anyone should try it, but sometimes it happens if your lives just work out that way. You get a hit in, it shoots a shot off right as you're killing it, and you could think, hey, I've won, and then it says game over, instead of here, or yeah! And I think you need to see the actual cutscene in order to properly beaten the goal.
Right.
But since that's not defined on the Best of Nest / Big 20, I don't know.
Well, I'll have to check with
Yeah.
BB what he thinks about that, but most likely we're going to say you probably need to actually win.
I
actually
agree.
complete the level.
Yeah, I would think so. Even though the helicopter's blown up, you've defeated the helicopter, but he's also defeated you. So,
All right.
yeah, so that's more or less it. Unless we're going back through it to put it all together in one piece.
Because it's a very short goal.
Oh yeah, it's a good time is. I would say to be a conservative time is around 6 minutes. Anything under 5.5 minutes, you're in pretty good shape. Low 5 minutes is really fast pace. Really fast pace. So that's just perfect slowdown mitigation. No wasted motion, and really quick boss kills. But anything around 5.5 minutes, you're in really good shape.
Okay. If anyone in the chat has any questions, we're happy to field your questions now. I'm thinking it might be helpful to go back through the game once again and have one or both of you just go through and just play it straight through.
Sure.
And show what the levels look like all put together. You might even want to do a save state at the beginning of each level, just so you can show what the whole thing looks like if you keep the weapons that you intend to keep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If you don't have that, don't have the plus-shaped explosion, then you're going to have to sort of improvise. But there's so many.
Yeah.
It looks like there's so many weapon pickups that you should be able to get back to it if you die at some point.
Yeah, that's one of the things that in some cases you have to go a little bit out of your way. In most cases, it's pretty close, but you might have to just turn a little bit to one side or the other and wait for the guy to come out, which is why, that's saving time. You just want to, if you can, keep the weapon the entire time until you want to get rid of it for the that level 4 manipulation. But, you get the weapon if you need it. It's not a big deal. Mostly it's along the way. So, yeah, we can go back through this game.
Okay, cool.
Let me load up my other file, because in case I screw up on the early stages, we'll have those save states. Alrighty. Okay, so to answer Anthole's question, I don't know. I'm sort of ambivalent about that.
The question is whether it's worth it to grenade. Wait, the grenade is worth it for the last boss.
Right. So the grenade is a twofold thing. One, when you have a lower sub-weapon, you get a few less spawns. So that is a little bit of an advantage in the stage itself. So that's part of the reason why we do it. But for that boss itself, we didn't really go over this, but the way he attacks is that he shoots right at you regardless of where you're at relative to the helicopter. So if you're on the side of him, he's going to shoot directly at you. If you're... I don't know about behind him, because you're probably never going to be behind him, but if you're directly in front of him, catty corner, directly to the left or right of him, he's going to fire directly at you. So if you have rockets, you can maintain a little bit of a distance from him. That's an advantage. Otherwise, he's pretty aggressive. So I don't know that missiles versus grenades are going to make that much of a difference. It's mostly about avoiding shots from him if you're not going to. Honestly, I do the death abuse because I think it's easier than fighting him normally. It saves time, sure, but to me, it's easier to... I'm going to take one hit, and then I'm going to sit on top of his sprite and hope for the best. That works a lot better for me than I'm going to try to dodge all of his bullets.
I honestly don't mind fighting the fourth boss the normal way, but I honestly prefer to have the 4-shot over the 4 or 2-shot over a grenade in the fight.
Sure,
just because firing is more consistent when hitting them at a diagonal pace, since I'll actually have to dodge his shots.
Right. It's a completely reasonable position. I mean, obviously, get rid of all of your weapon upgrades is kind of a weird position to take, but sometimes it's advantageous. Let's see, this is one where the tank spawned on the left where I was, but it didn't really matter because when the tank spawns at the end of stage 2 in that boss fight, he tends to meander a little bit, or it tends to meander a little bit. So you have a pretty decent amount of time to react to it.
That was a weird position starting for the first boss. Wasn't expecting to spawn in.
So the laser section in real time.
Yeah.
Ah, see, there you go. I got hit.
Oh yeah, you gotta get closer to that thing. You gotta get your nose right up to that laser before you start going.
You really do. That's another death. Okay, so this is the other nice factor about using the death abuse strats, because I kind of wanted to die anyway. Now, I lost a little bit of time doing it now, as opposed to in the course of the boss fight, on the last hit even, but that's okay. But now, in this situation, without missiles, I'm going to just fight this boss normally. By normally, I mean I'm just going to line up with one column of guns and shoot it in order.
Right, just smash A and B.
Exactly,
and
yeah.
Shoot straight up, so you can use both your weapons at once. Looks good. Alright, it's almost the same without the quadruple shot. The only difference is you have to actually shoot the doors open instead of shooting the wall next to the door open.
Yes, correct.
Okay, here we go. We stick along the left-hand side. If you had gotten killed from the boss after you finished the last turret off, you would have fewer enemies spawning right here, right now, but you may not want to waste a life just to do that in the race. You probably want to keep your lives. Staying along the left-hand side, by the way, also avoids all that swamp stuff.
Mm-hmm. So hilariously, I'm in a position to actually game over, like we discussed, when I do this death abuse. So we'll see what happens.
Should be interesting.
I kind of hope it happens so you can see it. All right. Nah, I did the fight properly. Okay, so that's it.
Okay.
And once you see that, I think it's gonna be once you see the cutscene.
Yeah, the cutscene screen.
That'll be when you go on to what's after this? Ninja Guy? No, Kid Icarus. Kid Icarus is after this, I think.
Last is probably Icarus. Yeah. Yep. Kid Icarus is next. Nice. If anyone else has any more questions, we're happy to answer them. This looks like it's going to be a pretty quick game, assuming you don't game over.
Yeah, it's assuming you don't game over, absolutely. Game over is pretty bad because, especially if it's late in the level, you're gonna have to redo the whole level. That's a bummer, but even so, even if that's the case, the levels are pretty short. I mean, we're talking about a sub 6-minute target. And that's again, that's a pretty conservative estimate. Just a little bit of knowledge of the path and which enemies to shoot and not shoot. You're going to be sub 6, not with a ton of problems.
Okay. Let's see. You have limited number of continues. I think we said maybe 3 continues. I think.
Yeah, I thought it was unlimited. So yeah, IM said it was 3. I trust him. He knows more about it than I do.
Okay. When you die, you start exactly where you left off, but when you continue, you start at the beginning of the level. I don't know, there may be cases where people get to the 3rd or the 4th level and they decide they might want to take an intentional game over at the start of it just so they have enough lives to carry them through, but
sure,
you're probably going to have to be pretty confident that you're not going to run out of continues if you want to play that kind of game.
Right.
I mean, I really don't see anyone... well, if you're completely blind, if you've never played this game before, or any game like it, and you're blind to this one, I could maybe see you taking more than one continue, but for anyone who's... I mean, if you're watching this, you're probably doing enough work for getting ready that you'll be just fine. You might continue once, but as far as running out of continues, I don't think so for this category. It's quite simple.
There are much worse games that people are going to end up having to get through just before they get to this game.
Yeah, this is kind of sandwiched in between some real hot bangers, so you get a little bit of a reprieve on this one, I think.
That's right, Darkwing Duck, full game, which is very difficult. Then Jackal, which is a nice cakewalk. And then Kid Icarus, which is going to give some problems.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
Right, and then on to Ninja Gaiden 2 and Batman. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, it finishes out really easily, I think. So, you got that to look forward to. Batman is, one of the easier, it's a crazy game. Right. That climb at the end. My goodness. Anyway, yeah, so Jackal is your nice little breather in between everything else.
Cool.
If anyone has any questions, follow up. I'm doing a lot of practice for Big 20 stuff and a lot of Jackal because I like Jackal a lot. So hit me up, twitch.tv/NMEtv. I'm available. Twitter, whatever. You guys can know how to get to me.